Titanoboa was the largest snake ever to exist. 14 meters of muscle, over 1,000 kilograms of raw pressure, power capable of crushing crocodiles. And yet, if Titanoboa were placed on Earth today, it would not become a global nightmare. It would die, not because of humans, not because of weapons, but because the planet itself would betray it. This predator was not designed for our world, and the reason is hidden in something far more dangerous than extinction events or rival hunters. By the end of this story, you will understand why Titanoboa could dominate prehistoric Earth, and why modern Earth makes its existence impossible. 60 million years ago, Earth was a different machine. This was the Paleocene epoch, a time immediately after the dinosaurs vanished. The planet was hotter, significantly hotter. There were no polar ice caps, no winter seasons, no thermal limits. Tropical conditions extended far beyond the equator. Rainforests were denser, rivers were deeper, and humidity pressed down on the land like a physical weight. This was not a world of balance, it was a world of excess, and excess creates giants. In this environment, being large was not a disadvantage. It was efficiency. Heat fueled muscle, muscle fueled dominance. Titanoboa's body depended entirely on external warmth. Every contraction, every strike, every hunt required the surrounding air and water to remain hot. On prehistoric Earth, this requirement was met effortlessly. The planet itself functioned as Titanoboa's power source. Titanoboa did not begin life as a monster. It hatched vulnerable, small enough to be prey. Crocodilians patrolled the waterways. Massive turtles crushed anything slow. Early mammalian predators hunted relentlessly. Most Titanoboa never reached maturity, but those that survived grew continuously. Year after year, fueled by constant heat and abundant prey, their bodies expanded beyond modern limits. There was no evolutionary pressure to stop growing. Titanoboa did not rely on venom. Venom is unnecessary when pressure is absolute. Its muscles were layered, dense, and powerful beyond any modern snake. Its rib cage could expand to engulf prey larger than itself. Its lungs extended far down its body, allowing it to breathe even while crushing another animal. This was not an animal built for speed. It was built to end resistance. Here is the first clue to why Titanoboa cannot survive today. A body this large, entirely dependent on environmental heat, functions only within a narrow temperature range. Drop that temperature slightly and performance collapses. Titanoboa did not evolve to regulate its own heat. It never needed to. The planet did that for it. Titanoboa was an ambush predator. It waited beneath river surfaces, motionless for hours. When prey approached, it struck with precision. Once coiled, escape was impossible. Bones bent inward. Breathing stopped. Struggle ended. This method required energy, a lot of it. Energy supplied by a world that never cooled. Titanoboa was not merely part of its ecosystem, it shaped it. Crocodilians avoided certain riverbanks. Large turtles altered migration routes. Smaller predators changed hunting patterns. Titanoboa was not the fastest predator. It was the final one. So why don't we see anything like Titanoboa today? Modern snakes exist, large snakes exist, but nothing even close. This absence is not accidental, it is proof. Somewhere between Titanoboa's world and ours, Earth changed in a way that made such a predator impossible. And that change was not dramatic. It was gradual and unstoppable. Titanoboa did not rule an empty world. The Paleocene rainforest was crowded with predators. Each one lethal, each one adapted to kill. Giant crocodilians patrolled the rivers. Massive turtles crushed bone with armored jaws. Early carnivorous mammals stalked the forest floor. This was not a fragile ecosystem, it was a battlefield. And Titanoboa stood at its center, not because it was faster, not because it was smarter, but because it was unstoppable. Among Titanoboa's most dangerous rivals were prehistoric crocodilians, some exceeding 5 meters in length. These were not passive scavengers. They were ambush specialists, armored from head to tail, capable of crushing limbs in a single bite. In shallow rivers, they were kings, until Titanoboa entered the water. A crocodilian attack relied on surprise. A sudden burst of speed, jaws snapping shut with enormous force. But Titanoboa did not flee. When attacked, it responded with overwhelming pressure. The snake's body absorbed impact, coiling instantly around the crocodilian's torso. Armor offered no protection against compression. Ribs bent inward, lungs collapsed. The struggle ended beneath the surface. Where crocodilians dominated through bite force, Titanoboa dominated through suffocation. They had few predators. Titanoboa was one of them. It did not attempt to crush the shell. Instead, it attacked exposed limbs and necks, dragging the animal into deep water. Once submerged, even armor failed. The turtle's defenses became a liability, weight pulling it downward as Titanoboa waited patiently for air to run out. This was not brute force. This was experience. On land, early carnivorous mammals posed a different threat. They were smaller, faster, more agile. They hunted in short bursts, targeting weak or injured prey. Against Titanoboa, speed meant nothing. The forest was dense, visibility low. One wrong step, one rustle in the leaves, and the ground itself moved. A sudden coil around the torso, a tightening grip around the chest. Speed cannot outrun pressure. The greatest threat to Titanoboa came from its own kind. Other Titanoboa, territory mattered, food sources mattered. Dominance was enforced through violence. When two giants encountered each other, there was no warning display, no retreat, only force. Bodies collided, muscles strained. Each attempted to overpower the other through sheer mass. These battles could last hours. Often, one snake retreated, wounded, weakened, and vulnerable. Sometimes one did not leave at all. Cannibalism ensured that only the strongest survived. This was evolution without mercy. Against every competitor, Titanoboa had one advantage none could match: thermal dominance. In this superheated world, Titanoboa's massive body retained heat longer than any rival. While others slowed, it stayed active. While others fatigued, it endured. Its size was not a burden, it was an advantage unlocked by climate. Titanoboa was not just adapted to this environment, it was optimized for it. But even kings have limits. As global temperatures continued to decline, subtle changes began to appear. Titanoboa required longer periods to warm up. Hunting windows shortened. Recovery from injury slowed. Competitors adapted faster. Smaller snakes thrived. Crocodilians became more efficient. Mammals evolved insulation and endurance. Titanoboa did not evolve quickly. It did not need to until now. For the first time, Titanoboa began to lose confrontations, not because it was weaker, but because it was slower. A crocodilian escaped a failed ambush. A mammal avoided a strike by seconds. A rival snake survived long enough to retreat. These were not defeats, but they were warnings. The world was no longer perfectly tuned to Titanoboa's biology. Despite the changes, Titanoboa remained the most powerful predator of its era. No competitor replaced it. No animal surpassed its size. Even as its world faded, it remained unmatched. But dominance without sustainability is temporary, and Titanoboa's body demanded a world that no longer existed. There was no dramatic extinction event, no sudden catastrophe, just cooling air, drying forests, shrinking rivers. The giants reproduced less successfully. Young failed to reach massive sizes. Each generation was smaller than the last, until the giant was gone. Titanoboa was not defeated, it was outdated. Its extinction proves a brutal truth about evolution. The most powerful predator is not the strongest. It is the one best matched to its time. Titanoboa belonged to a hotter, heavier Earth. That Earth no longer exists. Titanoboa did not face a sudden disaster. There was no asteroid, no volcanic apocalypse, no dramatic extinction event. Its disappearance was quieter, and in many ways, more terrifying. The world itself gradually became hostile to its existence. Over thousands of years, Earth cooled. Not dramatically, not violently, but enough to strip the giant snake of the heat it relied on to function. Dense rainforests thinned, rivers shrank. The thermal consistency that powered its massive body disappeared. The biology that had once made Titanoboa a perfect predator now betrayed it. As an ectothermic animal, it depended entirely on external heat to move, hunt, and digest. In its prime world, the warm, humid climate meant its muscles could contract with terrifying force, allowing it to crush prey larger than modern humans. But as temperatures dropped, its body slowed. Reaction times lagged. Digestion took longer. A predator that had relied on inevitability now faced uncertainty. The final Titanoboa were still terrifying, but every hunt became a gamble. Prey that would have once been caught with ease began to escape. Extended recovery periods made the snakes vulnerable. Even smaller competitors, crocodilians, mammals, and smaller snakes, began to exploit these weaknesses. Titanoboa remained unmatched in raw power, but power without efficiency is unsustainable. Its world was shifting faster than its biology could adapt. The true extinction did not begin with death. It began with failure to reproduce. Lower temperatures slowed embryonic development. Egg survival rates dropped. Young Titanoboa failed to reach the colossal sizes that defined their species. Each generation grew smaller, less dominant, and increasingly vulnerable. The giant wasn't killed off by predators. It shrunk out of existence. The last Titanoboa lived isolated, confined to the warmest remaining pockets of jungle. Forests were fragmented. Rivers were shallow. Prey became scarce. These final giants moved less, conserving energy with every motion, for movement now came at a cost too great for their enormous bodies. Eventually, even these isolated populations vanished without notice. There was no dramatic final battle, no epic last strike, just the quiet disappearance of a predator unmatched in its time. Now imagine Titanoboa on modern Earth. It would fail quickly, and not because of humans. Even in untouched rainforests, the snake would struggle. Modern tropical temperatures average far below what Titanoboa required to function. Nights alone would be enough to paralyze it. Its massive, ectothermic body would be metabolically inefficient. Movement would be slow, digestion compromised, hunting nearly impossible. Modern ecosystems also cannot support its caloric demand. Titanoboa required enormous prey regularly to survive. The density of large animals today is far lower than in the Paleocene. Fragmented rivers and forests would restrict its territory, preventing it from hunting efficiently. And evolution has moved on. Modern predators, even smaller snakes and mammals, are more adaptable. Titanoboa, extreme and highly specialized, would simply be outmatched by the combination of environment and competition. The extinction of Titanoboa is a brutal reminder. The most powerful predator is not the strongest. It is the one perfectly matched to its time. Titanoboa was a giant born of heat, humidity, and abundance. A creature designed for a world that no longer exists. Modern Earth cannot sustain it. Its disappearance was not failure. It was inevitability. Titanoboa was a predator without a future. It was a masterpiece left behind by evolution, a symbol of power tied to a vanished world. No amount of terror, size, or strength could protect it from the slow, unyielding march of a changing planet. And that is why, even today, the giant that ruled rivers and forests for millions of years is gone. A memory etched in fossils, a warning from Earth itself. When Titanoboa vanished, a void was left in the Paleocene ecosystem. For millions of years, rivers and dense rainforests had been dominated by the giant snake. Crocodilians, turtles, and mammals had adapted to coexist with or avoid it. Its disappearance did not instantly change the world, but over time, it reshaped predator-prey dynamics, giving rise to new rulers of land and water. The first to benefit were crocodilians. Without Titanoboa to crush or suffocate them, these semi-aquatic hunters expanded their territories. They grew larger, more aggressive, and more numerous. Riverbanks and wetlands that once belonged to Titanoboa were now patrolled by these survivors. Their hunting strategies evolved to fill niches left empty, ambushing fish, turtles, and even early mammals that had previously been under the shadow of the giant snake. For the first time in millions of years, crocodilians could dominate without fear. Next came mammalian predators. Small, agile, and adaptable, they had always existed in Titanoboa's world, but had been limited by its presence. Without the constant threat of being crushed or constricted, they expanded into new territories. Early carnivores, including primitive creodonts and mesonychids, became the top terrestrial hunters. They evolved sharper teeth, better endurance, and hunting strategies that relied on speed and cooperation rather than sheer size. The forest floor, once dominated by fear of Titanoboa, became a battleground for these mammals. Even other snakes experienced a renaissance. While no modern snake could reach Titanoboa's size, smaller constrictors exploited the gaps left in the ecosystem. They specialized in hunting smaller reptiles, amphibians, and mammals, diversifying their diets and spreading into areas that had been inaccessible during Titanoboa's reign. This period marked the beginning of the evolutionary experiments that would eventually lead to modern large snakes like anacondas and pythons. Meanwhile, the largest turtles also benefited. No longer dragged underwater by Titanoboa, they could occupy river systems more freely. Populations stabilized, and their shells, once an essential defense, became less a matter of survival and more a tool for competition among themselves. In some regions, turtle numbers surged, creating dense aquatic populations that reshaped river ecology. Interestingly, the absence of a top predator allowed ecosystems to diversify dramatically. Prey species, from fish to amphibians to small mammals, flourished, creating a cascading effect. Increased biodiversity gave new predators more opportunities, forcing them to adapt more aggressively. Some mammals grew larger, rivaling crocodilians in size. Some reptiles evolved new hunting strategies. The ecological void Titanoboa left behind was filled with innovation, competition, and rapid evolutionary change. Yet despite this change, the shadow of Titanoboa's power lingered. Every predator that rose into dominance did so in a world still shaped by the giant snake's extinction. Rivers still flowed in its memory. Forests still bore the imprint of its hunting grounds. Its absence changed the hierarchy, but it also defined the rules for the new rulers. Survival was no longer about sheer mass. It was about adaptability, strategy, and speed. Qualities that had always been secondary when a 14-meter predator ruled the water. By the time the Paleocene transitioned into the Eocene, the top predator landscape had transformed entirely. Crocodilians dominated rivers, early mammals roamed and hunted the forest with intelligence and coordination, and snakes diversified into specialized hunters. The ecosystem that once revolved around Titanoboa had learned to survive without it, and in doing so, laid the foundation for the predators of the modern era. Titanoboa's extinction was not just the end of a monster, it was the beginning of a new order. The giants that followed would never match its size, but they mastered adaptability in ways Titanoboa never needed. In the end, evolution proved that dominance is never permanent, and that the fall of a king creates the opportunity for countless new ones to rise.